we did in the newspaper that Welcome back to Sports Blitz Live, presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill. About 30 minutes or so left in tonight's show. And again, we want to thank Luke Robinson and J.D. Cowart for that wrap-up of what we did in the newspaper this past week, Austin, of the preseason poll, or not the preseason poll, but the preseason All-SEC teams selections, both offensive and defensive. And, you know, it is kind of an odd year. A lot of the, I guess so many great players left the SEC this year. You know, there wasn't a lot of unanimous picks on there. I mean, it's just kind of all up in the air right now.
Yeah, a lot of great players left this year, but so did the year before. I mean, SEC always leads in first-round picks, always leads in overall pick. I mean, you know,
and somebody will step in and replace it.
Well, the SEC, Alabama and LSU are supposedly, they're about 4 or 5 teams getting listed as national championship contenders so far. I mean, you always have teams develop later on, but right now, Alabama and LSU are 2 of the favorites to win it all.
Absolutely, and we're in the Auburn Minute segment of our show. Just followed up the Bama Minute, brought to you by Mike Bradbury and Bradbury Medical. And the Auburn Minute is brought your way every week by Dane Sharp, attorney at law down in Dadeville, Alabama, across from the courthouse for all your legal needs. Make sure you give a call to Dane Sharp, attorney at law. So, again, we want to thank Dane for and his attorney and his law practices for being part of our program and sponsoring the Auburn Minute the Auburn segment of our show, the whole segment and the Auburn Minute. We'll headline the Auburn Minute with Gene Chizik getting a pay boost. Austin jumping up to $3.5 million on an annual basis from $2.2 million. His record at Auburn University, 22-5, a 2010 SEC championship to his credit, and a 2010 national championship to his credit. And if you look at the top 7 highest paid coaches in college football, out of those 7, 5 have won national championships. So, things kind of staying in line with each other.
Well, look, it's hard to argue what the man's done in his first 2 years. He oftentimes doesn't get the credit for what he's done. Whether it be Cam Newton stealing the spotlight or Gus Malzahn, even on his own coaching staff. I believe there's a top 50 most influential guys in college football right now, and I think Gus Malzahn made the list and Gene Chizik didn't. But regardless, when you're the head football coach, you are the man.
That's right.
And his pay raise, I think, is deservingly was deservingly given to him. So I think 3.5 is a fair number for him. And Auburn seems to be happy with what he's doing, and he seems to be happy with his position at Auburn. So so far, so good for Gene Chizik and the Auburn Tigers.
That's right. And talking about assistant coaches, the assistants get boost as well. And talking about Gus Malzahn only making $1.3 million, which is more than a lot of head coaches out there in college football, but he's worth that to Auburn because of what he brings to the table offensively. Ted Roof, that kind of shows you the discrepancy on the offensive side versus the defensive side. Defensive coordinator making $500,000, nothing to shake a stick at, but way down the line, a good $700,000 less or $800,000 less than what the offensive coordinator makes. Trooper Taylor, $425,000. Jeff Grimes, who I think is an outstanding offensive line coach, at $400,000. Auburn assistants guaranteed $4.085 million for the 2011 season. They have the highest payroll period of any college football team in the United States.
Well, look, you're coming fresh off a national championship. The agents for these coaches know the iron is never going to get any higher, so you might as well go ahead and strike. And you're going to see this with the coaching staff. I don't really have a problem with this. I know a lot of people kind of beat up on Alabama when we get Nick Saban $4 million, but he's turned out to be worth every penny to Alabama. What they're giving Auburn right now with this, first national championship in 50-plus years, worth every penny to what they're doing. If they can continue to do this, they'll
because
keep
of what
earning
they
their
just
money.
sold. Period.
Exactly. So look, everything. Yes, these numbers sound big, and yes, it's money that the school may or may not have. But look,
no,
they very few times in the world of academia do you see a straight correlation between the amount of revenue a teacher, quote unquote, a teacher or a school employee brings in. Football coaches are one of those that there's an actual number you can circle and say, okay, Nick Saban has done this much when he got here. Gene Chizik has helped this much. You can circle hard numbers. You can't do that for a math professor or something like that.
Well,
you can do that for a football coach.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you one thing, to quote Bear Bryant, what he said in the past is, He said, how many times have you seen 70,000 show up for a math tournament?
There ain't no
and you can laugh, and I'm not taking anything away because academics is absolutely the most important thing out there, no doubt about it. But he's got a good point when he's
it pays for
numbers.
themselves. What I'm saying is it pays for
That's what the point is. That's what we're talking about. Moving on into recruiting, we'll start with Ricky Parks. Auburn picking up another big tight end from Callaway, Georgia, 6'4", 230 pounds, the number 3 tight end in one publication in the country, the number 2 in another publication. So another big tight end joining the Auburn football team coming up next year. Auburn picked up Folsom from Florida this past year. So big tight ends falling right behind Lutzenkirchen. They see what Gus Malzahn does with the tight end. Also, Auburn picking up Darian Hutcherson, of course, several weeks ago from Davil, who's also a tight end prospect. He may move around and play something else because he's a big kid. But Auburn really, those tight ends like Auburn's offense because of the way Gus Malzahn utilizes that. But Ricky Parks, a 4-star from the state of Georgia, also a D-liner, a defensive lineman for the class of 2013, who is, by a lot of early indications, a lot of people saying may be the top prospect in the 2013 class. 6'4", 255 pounds. He's Auburn's first commitment for the 2013 class. Austin, what I've seen here in the swing of things in the last 5 years is the athletes coming from North Alabama in football, basketball, all around, seeing Huntsville and winning the state championship and in baseball, and just seeing a lot of stuff going on from that area up in North Alabama. And once again, Alabama gets a commitment this year from Bob Jones,
Reggie
Ragland. Auburn getting a commitment for a 2013 class, and D-liner, a similar type looking kid. And by like I said, I know it's really early, but a lot of guys already saying he may be the number 1 prospect in the state in 2013.
Well, what it just shows is how the world of recruiting has changed. Well, not only that, guys like this, like the Steve Liner guy, and of course Reggie Ragland, my jaw hit the ground. I'll never forget at the BJCC when we watched him and Bob Jones play in the Final 48. And I said, he is going to make a football player somewhere. When I saw him have 5 dunks in 2 basketball games as a freshman competing at the 6A level in Alabama basketball, and he's a number 1 middle linebacker recruit in the country this year, and he's going to, like you said, North Alabama, the Bob Jones, the Huntsville, the Muscle Shoals area, they're starting to pick it up in the world of football.
And Auburn picks up another commitment today, and the top running back prospect in the state of Alabama from Daphne High School. You and I saw him in the state championship game, 6'1", 205 pounds.
How many times did we call his name?
A bunch of times. He's a great player. Of course, Alabama getting the linebacker off that team committed to them. And so, Daphne coming back with a strong football team this year. T.J. Eldon would be one to watch. But, again, another big pickup, another 4-star. Auburn expecting big news tomorrow from a wide receiver in Georgia. So we'll see. That's another 4-star. It just seems like Auburn, Alabama, nothing less than 4 stars right now for either team.
Well, I think really with this, we talked about earlier with this change going to 28 to 25, you're going to see a lot of these guys kind of get hammered down early. And there's always been rumors of he's a silent commit or whatever else. Now I think these coaches are going to have to say, look, we're going to have to be. It's going to have to be a very public. It's going to have to be a big thing because look, we are 25 firm.
Kind of like what Pat Murphy did.
Well,
got real public, real firm.
Yeah,
real. Got the LSU garb on. Now we'll talk more about that. I know Luke talked about that.
It's just one of those things that.
But you got to. You're
right.
Like
Alabama last year, I think only ended up with 22 guys or something like that because of the numbers crunch. Whereas Auburn signed, for other reasons, signed above. But now everybody's at that 25 solid.
Now you got to sign 20.
Now you've got 20. It's just going to be the way it is, and so I look for most teams. And I think Alabama may be a little under this year because we don't have another huge senior class because some of the guys went pro a little bit and all that kind of stuff. But I think you're going to see. You might see. It's going to take a little bit of the shine off of National Signing Day, I believe, because there's going to be 2 or 3 of the big name guys that are always going to do it. the day of.
It's just the way college football's evolved now, and that's just the way it is. But that's going to do it for the Auburn Minute and the Auburn Opelika Review segment of our show. Again, we want you to watch Auburn Opelika Review on Charter Channel 80 and Channel 2 here. Our host, Lacey Bino, and our title sponsor of Auburn Opelika Review, Lake Martin Oyster Bar and Grill down on Highway 34 in just south of Dable, and a great flourishing area right there. A lot of family fun and a lot of great food down there. So check out Lake Martin Oyster Bar Grill, but check out Auburn Opelika Review. Every Thursday, a new episode, and it's replayed numerous times throughout the week. So encourage you to watch that program each and every week. We'll have a feature on the Alex City Jazz Fest this coming week, and again, that's a huge event here in the Alex City area. So make sure you watch that for a recap of the Alex City Jazz Fest. That's going to do it for the Auburn Opelika Review segment and the Auburn Minute, sponsored by Dane Sharp Attorney at Law in Dable, Alabama. For all your attorney's needs, legal needs, contact Dane Sharp Attorney at Law across the street from the Dable Courthouse. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be in the NASCAR segment of our show, sponsored by S&S Discount Tire. Stay tuned. More Sports Splits Live presented by JR's right after.